So between last year and this year, we'll have listed 75 flips. My goal was to beat New Jersey Homes, if you've ever seen that listed. They do about 50, 55 a year in Atlantic County. And we have the other counties as well, but I'm not outside Atlantic County, so I had to stay here. And my goal was to beat them, and we did. So 75 of our 129 were flips or rentals. Isn't that way just like they can click it and it changes? This is the full screen. Yeah, all right, that's fine.
Plus sign.
So over the last 18 years, last year was a big year for us, but over the last 18 years, it's a little over 200, it's probably 250, we dealt with about 250 flips, 50 of them being my own. Right now we have 5, I have 5 flips going on, and my investors have, I don't even know, 55, something like that. Actually, we're gonna start putting out a list of properties coming soon that are coming on the market. This way we can try to sell them in-house before I put them out to the MLS. People are always looking for something they can't find. If you have any questions at all, please stop me. So my goal was really to give you a brief idea, because I only have about an hour and 10 minutes, and this other guy's going to come from the hard money lender, of how to buy a property, figure out how much it's going to cost to fix it, flip it, and if you want to rent it, I have some stuff in here as well. I was like showing people that this was my first kind of flip / rental back in 2013. I bought it for $114,000. At that time, you can get 100% financing. It's called an 80-20 loan, so you can get 2 loans. I put zero money out of my pocket. I rented it for $1,500 a month. My payment was like $800. I made a good profit every month for 1 year, and then 1 year later, I sold it for $155,000. I made $59,000 in 12 months, including the rentals. It was very, very good. I was very, very happy, and from there, I just kept going. I'm sure, I don't know, maybe one of you, 2 of you were in the market when the market was really, really good. We were buying things left and right. I literally had a buying problem. I couldn't stop buying real estate. I just kept buying and buying and buying, especially because I couldn't put any money out of their pocket, 100% financing. And right now, there is a way to still do that. Not through traditional financing, but I'll give you an idea of how we do it still. So how can you do that? Obviously, these are the traditional ways of doing it. If you have cash, great, it's easy to do that. You can still do with Jim Malamud or any other mortgage company, 20% down, as long as the property is financeable. If it's in really, really poor condition, you're not going to buy it with a mortgage, a traditional mortgage at that. You can get hard money, which is very high interest rates, 15, 16% interest rates, a couple points, but they're very low documentation loans. They're not your typical mortgages where they're asking for every single financial document you own. They are going to ask you for documentation, but most of hard money lending is based on the property, not you. I mean, they want to make sure you're, a stand-up person, you're going to pay them back. However, they want to make sure that the value is in the property. They can lend you the money, sell it if you go bad, and still not lose. But they're going to go and get paid for it. So you still need, if you're going to get a hard money loan or a normal loan, you're going to need good credit. You need to cover the income. You got to be able to cover the payments. Do $100,000 at 15%, it's a lot of money. It's $15,000 a year. So you have to be prepared to have that money in the bank. Even if you don't need money down, you still need money to pay those payments. Decent income to cover the debts, lender. Seller financing, we have done a few of these. Find a lender, or find a seller who's willing to hold the mortgage for you. Does everybody kind of know how you do that? No? So, let's say Jonathan owns a house. He wants to sell it to me, but I don't want to get financing right now, or I can't get financing right now. John doesn't have a mortgage, or maybe has a small mortgage. John can deed me the property and actually play the lender. He could record himself as John Doe Mortgage. So he has a mortgage over me on the property he has. Kind of understand?
So they act as a bank.
They act as a bank. So you record it. You record it like a mortgage. You do a note, you do a mortgage. You can buy this stuff right at Staples actually. And then you record it on the property. So now I owe John, let's say $100,000. However, I lean against the house that he has but I also owe him as the bank. Follow?
What happens to his existing loan if he has one?
He's gonna have to continue to pay those payments. So if he has a mortgage, he has to continue to pay those payments, or you could work it out where you could pay for those payments. I mean, if John's smart, he'll pay his own payments to make sure I don't miss them. But now he's gotta pay John's mortgage, and we gotta pay John every month, because we're paying him monthly payments. One of the biggest advantages to doing that is to avoid, let's say, or make it easier to get financed into like a traditional bank. So if you go to the Greentree, Greentree is not going to lend you money on a really bad conditioned house. However, if John holds the mortgage for me and it's in my name, I could then pull an equity line of credit on that property for slightly easier. Now, don't get me wrong, it can't be literally falling down, but when you apply for an equity line of credit, rarely do they do, an interior appraisal. They'll just do a drive-by, or they'll do a desktop appraisal. So now I own the property, I can get a home equity line of credit on that property to pay off John and his initial mortgage. Follow?
John's mortgage is subordinate to the first, though.
It is,
Right.
it is. So what he's holding for me is second, but as long as I can get enough money out to pay off both, we're fine. You know, I'm really, as me as the buyer, I'm only worried about paying off John. John's gonna pay off his own mortgage, but we gotta make sure we can clear all the debts. And that's a good point. When you're buying it, and I'll say it later in this thing, you have to, knowing what the value is, currently, and when it's completely rehabbed, is the most important thing. You make your money on the buy, so if you buy it wrong, you're just screwed. You can't do much with it. You're gonna fix it, you're gonna be able to sell it, you're gonna into too much money. If you buy it too high, you might not be able to cover the payments for rents. So like when I buy the house, I'm having a sellable financing, I have to make sure that I can pay off all the debts with the mortgage I'm getting out, and I still have enough room to make the renovations to sell it for more money. Follow? I'll give you an idea on this
Would
calculation.
that be the same as a lease to purchase?
Similar, yeah, but you wouldn't own it then. You wouldn't own it. You'd be making payments every month towards, there's a lot of different ways they structure them. So you could just do a lease purchase where you have a agreed upon sales price at a certain date. So maybe you're leasing it for 2 years, and the other 2 years you're gonna buy it for $150,000. Or you could say, I'm gonna buy it for $150 in 2 years, but every $100 of every payment I make you is going towards a down payment or going towards principal. You can structure it in a lot of ways, but the disadvantage of that is you don't own it yet. You don't own it, so now you're still going back to trying to getting a traditional mortgage to buy it, to pay off John, or hard money, and like that. And honestly, quite honestly, hard money or cash is really the easiest way to do this.
When you're doing the cash out refi, you're paying off the second and the first,
Right.
right?
In this situation, yeah, you'd be paying off both. Because even though if I'm just paying off John, John's gotta be happy with what he's getting at the end, so he's gotta pay off his mortgage and whatever the profit is for him. And it's gotta make sense, because if it doesn't make sense, then it's, just doesn't make sense.
And you're gonna file the contract with John to purchase the house so it's under your name.
Okay. Right. That's the way, if I'm gonna do seller financing, I wanna have the deed in my name, because to me, that's the only advantage. I have some cash so I can buy stuff, and I have hard money I can get at any given time, so I don't really need the whole financing. But if there's something wrong with the property that I can't maybe get my mortgage on it, then I need him to hold the financing, deed the property over, so now it's in my name. Now I can pull it out. This is also another way to do 100% financing. So if you can get the seller to do it, maybe with a small deposit, say, listen, I already have my mortgage, my home equity line of credit's approved with TD Bank. I can get $100,000 on your property, estimated, and if you deed the property to me, I can pull it in 2-3 weeks, but I need the deed in my name. If it's not my name, then I can't get it. Do you know what I mean? Because you can't get a home equity line on a property you don't own, and again, that puts you back to doing a normal mortgage. So if you're saying like, I don't have 20% down to do Jim Malamut or Wells Fargo, then that might be an option if your seller is willing to hold the mortgage. You could literally buy it with very little money in the pocket.
Now through the home equity, you will have to do like a whole nother loan, provide the docs, because you have to refinance, right?
The home equity line?
Yeah, if
Yeah,
you take the equity out,
it's
then
not,
your payments gonna go higher, right?
home equity line, they're not, I mean, they're checking your tax returns, your income, your bank statements. I mean, they're not going too much further than that.
Same thing as I
It's
used to
somewhat
do.
low documentation, yeah, yeah. But that's the other way, if you own a property now, your home, most people take it out of their primary residence, get an equity line of credit to get enough money for a down payment. Because even most of your hard money people, they want 10–20% down. So you still need, if you have some money to play with, if you can get 10–20% down, you can really get a loan almost anywhere. And that's what it says here, home equity line, your primary residence, to get the money out to put down on something. Lease purchase, like Gary said, deal must show positive cash flow. Right, because you could actually sublease that property out, Gary. So if you subleased it, or let's say you lease purchased it, let's say you just wanted a year to lease the property and that maybe they wouldn't do the deed, they won't transfer the deed to you. If you can then take the property and release it, sublease it back out to somebody else and make a profit, anywhere you can make a profit, it's profit, you know what I mean? Hard money lenders, I'll talk a little bit more about them, but again, high interest rates, short term, low documentation. Two lenders that I use a lot, one's 12.9%, 3 points, 6-month terms. So basically, they want to get paid in 6 months. They'll usually extend it for another point for another 6 months, but these are not long-term loans. They do not, you have to figure out a way to pay them back in 6 to 12 months. Number one, you don't want to be paying payments at $2 grand a month. And number two, they don't want you to take it more than 12 months. So you need to know what your numbers are so you can either resell it or get another loan to pay it off, one or the other. And again, you can do the same thing. You can get a hard money loan, for something you wanted to keep long term, and then go to a normal bank and get a home equity line to pay it off. And then keep it long term. Because you don't want to, like a rental property with 15% interest rates. Like I said, I have another guy, 16%, no points, no fees. So that kind of balances out. It's 12.9 with like $3,000, $4,000 in fees, or 16% no fees. It's pretty much the same. Find a partner with money, man. That's a good one. I mean, that's actually how I started doing flips years ago. After I bought the couple in the height of the market, about 2007, I found a partner who we partnered up with. I knew how to do them. I knew that get them, fix them, sell them. I just didn't have a lot of money. So I just partnered up with him. We did a 50-50 split. I was all the labor. I was all the manpower. And then he put up all the money. So it was good. So if you got a rich friend, get with them. The legwork is your contribution, and being the realtor. If you partner up with somebody, you can choose as the agent not to charge yourself commission. We can actually, like if I do a deal, like I've done some flips with people in the office, I'll tell later, but I don't list my own flips. If my name's on the deed, I don't want to be the agent as well. I don't want to be the seller and the agent. It's just too much conflict. But the deal is, if they're 50-50 partners, they got to put the commission back in the pot. So you say, if you're working with a partner that's not an agent, you can say, listen, I can save us 6% or 3%, I can put it back in the pot, for 50-50 partners. So there's some value there. And the last option, most people will say no, but I actually did it once. There's a lot of credit cards, 0% interest, especially if you get good credit. At one point I had about $100,000 in credit cards at 0% interest. You know what I mean? Like, that's crazy. They're paying 15% or paying 0%, especially if it's short term for a down payment. I've actually borrowed $15,000 for a down payment to buy a rental property.
You just pay the transfer fee.
Pay the transfer fee, yeah. So you figure no matter what, wherever else I go for that 15% or 20%, I'm going to pay for it. So you weigh out the costs. Whichever the cheaper, you have to be very disciplined though. Because if you like credit cards, then don't do that. I hate credit cards. I only have one credit card and it has a $3,000 balance. I have more, but only one I physically have is that one. I don't like credit cards. But it might be helpful in a pinch. So just like we tell our clients, start with talking to a mortgage company. This guy should be around 11. He's a hard money company. But again, if you're looking for a rental property, or if the flip you're trying to do isn't in that bad of condition, talk to Jim. Talk to Nation One, talk to any mortgage company. But again, if the property needs like anything, like broken windows, the roof's leaking, if it's in bad shape, don't even bother talking to a Jim or Wells Fargo or Nation One. Go directly to a hard money company because it's not going to get very far. I was just pulling up some properties, like, this property is on Mill Road. It's a 3-bed, 2-bath. It's listed right now for $75,000. I'm not sure why it's not under contract. It'll rent for $1,500. And keep in mind, like, when you're buying a rental property compared to a flip, the difference of work you're gonna do could be dramatic. What you're gonna do if you're gonna do a true flip, you really gotta update everything. You know, if the kitchen's within, you know, over 5, 7 years old, people are gonna want a new kitchen. So you're gonna have to redo the kitchen. If the bathrooms are blue and pink, you have to redo the bathrooms. However, if you're buying a rental property and you have a pink bathroom and it's good shape, I'll leave it. Just leave it. You know, you don't have to do as much. So if you're bidding on a property for an investor or for yourself, you're probably going to pay more buying it as a long-term buy and hold property than you are as a flip, because you're going to need more work. Follow? Yeah, system's approximately $1,000 a month with 20% down, including PMI, tax, insurance, maintenance, escrow, and insurance and sewer. That's $500 a month profit, or $6,000 a year. So that's a 30% ROI, 30% return on investment. Now, just to be clear, that's 30% on your $20,000 out of pocket. Because really, that's what you're putting out. You're putting 20% down, $75,000. That's $15,000, right? You're putting that another probably another $7,000 in closing costs. On conventional mortgages, you can get 2% back for closing costs. So you figure $2,000 paid by the sellers. So you put in about $5,000 out. You got about $20,000 out of pocket without repairs. You know, let's say you put another $10,000 in there, you might have a 25 or 20% return. But let me ask you, where do you put $100,000 or even $20,000 and get 15% back on your money? There's nowhere. I don't know if you know the bank to put it in. Let me know, because I can't find it. I can't find 5%. You know what I mean? 1% is tough. You can put $1 million in TD Bank in their CD and get 0.9%, and they're advertising that like it's good. It's ridiculous. So that's why the past couple of years, I think you're going to continue to see it. You're seeing a lot of people take their money out of other investments and put it into real estate. You have even these big firms. You have like Fidelity, like these big national companies, Black House. These are big like money brokerages. I'm not big into the stock market, but these are companies that sell off mutual funds and shares of things. They're buying hundreds and thousands of rental properties, renting them out, and then selling you shares of it and giving you like 6%, 7% of the money, because they're making 15, 20%. So do it for yourself. Anybody own any rental properties? Yeah? Good. Nice. Any flips?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You got one, right?
That's right.
Yeah. So this is in Galloway. I forget the address.
I know the house, yeah.
You know this house? Yeah. $165,000. I wanted to put this up there because I wanted to explain that even things that are higher priced actually are making good income still. This is $165,000. It's been on the market 245 days, so I don't think it's selling for $165,000. With 20% down, even at list price, your payment will be about $1,200 per month. Of course, that's 20% down. That's a $450 a month profit if you rent it at $1,650, I think it was, right? $1,650 a month. I think it's either 3.2.5 or 4.2.5, but they'll rent for $1,500, $1,600, $1,700 a month. That's $5,400. That's a 14% yearly return on your $38,000 down payment and closing cost money. Or you could flip it for probably about $200,000, but that wouldn't work at $165. You have to get it for a lot cheaper. I have one property in Pleasantville on Reading Avenue, earned 40% return on investment. If you're willing to go to places that are very cheap, like Atlantic City and Pleasantville, you could actually make a lot better return. You can buy a 3-bedroom in Pleasantville for what, 60, 70,000? Some of these places actually aren't even that bad. You know, maybe cosmetically they need work, but you could probably move into some of them and rent for some of the same prices. I rent Reading Avenue for $1,350. I paid $55,000 for that. So right now, like I said here, it's Christmas. To me, it's Christmas. Or as a guy on my team, Maitland said, it's pre-boom market. If you look in the national arena right now, you look nationally at the real estate market, even outside just our county, North Jersey, Delaware, Philadelphia, New York, they've already went up and kind of started, not coming down too much yet, but slightly. Their days on market are up, their inventory is up, and their amount of sales is down. Everything's pointing that they've already hit their max and starting to come down. We haven't even started our climb yet. Now, I'm hoping Atlantic City will continue to make us climb, but this is the time to buy. And I think you have a lot of investors from outside coming here to buy because they can't do what we can do here. So take advantage of it, because if you don't, somebody else from the outside will. So what are you looking for in investment property? Of course, it always goes back to location, 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 and it depends on what you want to make as far as income. You're looking to make a bigger ROI, then go to a lower priced neighborhood. Looking to make you want a better location, but less money per, less, ROI, then go to a more expensive area. But you always want to make sure, they're good schools, safe location for owners and tenants, close to businesses. For the property, you want to see what the property will rent for or sell for. I put the ARV in red. Does anybody know what ARV stands for? Awesome. After repair value. So that's what, if you're working with investors, you want to know what those kind of things mean. ROI, return on investment, ARV, after repair value. This is basically what can they resell it for? After I fix it, what can I sell it for? And you, as an agent working with investors, you have to be able to tell them accurately what that number is. Because if you can't tell them confidently what that number is, then they won't be able to base their numbers on how much to put in it or what to buy it for. And so if you give them an inaccurate number, they might actually buy it for the wrong number, and you make your money on the buy. If you don't get anything else out of today, remember that you make your money when you buy a property. If you buy it right, you have a lot of options. You buy it wrong, you have very little options. Make your money on the buy, personal location, bedrooms, baths, traditional, is quirky. I always say I take off money for quirky in the ARV. I take off maybe 5%, depending on how big the house is. If you got a quirky house, just a weird layout, weird looking, something's quirky about it, I take it off. I call it the quirky factor. Condition of the property, what do you need to fix? This is the second most important part of a flip. What do you need to fix? You need to give detail. Now, you need to make like an Excel spreadsheet. I have one from a company that's actually trademarked, so I can't give it to you. But basically, we just use an Excel spreadsheet and go down item by item. Go outside first.
Sure,
Roof.
there's one I found on Google last night.
Did
so,
you?
Yeah.
Oh, awesome.
I
If you wouldn't mind
designed,
sharing
I
it.
designed one too.
Did you? We
Yeah.
designed one for our team.
I have it.
But just go down item by item: roof, siding,
Yeah.
windows, landscaping, gutters. When you're outside, if there's anything else, if there's a shed, garage, then start inside. But I usually go, because I do it in my head now when I go through things. But I have roof, siding, windows, landscaping. Anything outside, kitchen, bathrooms, floors, doors, trim, heating and cooling, electrical, and plumbing. And those are the things I have on my Excel spreadsheet, and I'll show you one here. But you as an investor buying it, you want to have this Excel spreadsheet and writing things down, like yes, it needs heat, it needs this, it needs this, it needs this, and get somebody in there to give you those accurate figures. Typically, the way I do it is I'll go in and I'll do the numbers in my head based on what it needs. I'll make an offer, usually slightly conservative offer, or low ball as most of the agents will call it. And then if I get a counter that's close to my offer or at my offer, then I'll get my contractor in there within 24 hours to give me a hard number, give me hard figures. And if he doesn't come in where I need him to come in, I might bring a second contractor in. Again, if it's a rental property, it doesn't need it to be all new. So, again, to me, if it's good condition, but just maybe dated, it doesn't need to be redone. Because I can now increase my offer possibly, because a lot of the same properties are being purchased by either long-term rental investors or income property investors or flippers. But if I'm buying it to rent it out, I can always outbid the flipper, because they're going to want to do 10 times more work than I'm going to do as buying it to hold it. Follow? So your purchase price and the flip will be different, blah, blah, blah. Conditions, items to look for the big ticket items. Like I said, roof, siding, big. I mean, on a typical ranch, 3-bed, 2-bath ranch, roof and siding will cost you $14,000 to $16,000. So those are two big items. Heat, air, electrical panel, is it fuses? Fuses, and most insurance companies won't even insure if it's fuses. Puts it out, I mean, to do an electrical panel, the meter socket and the line that goes from each is about $1,500 to $2,000. So it's actually not as bad as you think it is with the permit and everything. So, but things like that is when you look for. You're going to look for a foundation. When you look at a house, if you look down the left side of the house and you see a bubble, and it's not just the siding pushing out, it could be a problem. Make sure the house is square. Make sure the floors are level. If there's anything that looks unsquare, unlevel, you got to get your contractor in there to see what it is. Because these are the things that are hidden that you don't know. You buy it, and then you're like, oh crap, I didn't look at that. If I didn't have them going into the crawl space. When you have a contractor go in the house, make sure they go in the crawl space and in the attic. It's the two places they normally don't want to go or can't access easily, and it's the two places where you'll always have work. I always budget like $3,000 in the crawl space. If I don't spend it, great. If we do, no, I've already budgeted it. So you're always going to have, it's always damp, it could be moldy, wood rot, termites. I mean, it's the place nobody goes, so nobody would know what's down there. What kind of foundation is it? I bought a house in Buna that had literally stone foundation. It was 110 years old, I think. It had these stones embedded in concrete, and that was the foundation. They just stacked up these stones with concrete around it, and that was it. For going back, I probably wouldn't have bought that property. I ended up putting 14 leveling jacks in the basement to level this house out. 14 temporary concreted jacks in it. I mean, they're permanent now, but. Heater, hot water heater, is the tank old? Take pictures. Take a picture. If you don't know if it's older or not, take a picture. Send it to a heating guy that you know. I got contractors with Zoo. So if you have any questions about something, give me a call or text me. Roof, what kind of shingles? If it's got those 3-dimensional shingles, the one that looks like the newer style, it's within the last 15, 17 years old. If it's got the flat shingles where there's no elevation to the shingles, it's more than 20 years old. It probably needs to be replaced. Some of those 3-dimensional shingles are gotten so old now that they're actually ready to be replaced. They used to be for the last 5 years. If I saw that kind of shingle, I could know it was a fairly new roof. Now it's getting to the point where you really got to know what you're looking for. If the shingles are curling into the gutters, it probably needs to be replaced. If it's curling over the edges, it probably needs to be replaced. If you look at the edges and all that grit is all gone, it definitely needs to be replaced. Plumbing, copper or PEX. Is there plumbing at all? I can't tell you how many times we've walked through a house, bank-owned property or any kind of property, walked through the house and never noticed that the copper was missing. But like I said, you don't notice what you're not looking for. You walk in, it looks all clean in the crawl space of the basement, and there's no copper. Copper is going to run you, well, so you wouldn't even do copper, you do PEX, but it's still going to run you, $1,500 to $3,000 to replumb a house. You got to replumb it.
That's well?
Yeah, the PEX is really cheap. It's all labor now. Like you can get I always say like a 3-bedroom ranch. You could buy all the materials to plumb a whole house is like $150 to $250 with the joints and everything. It's the labor to run it now, because that plastic is all cheap. It's actually better. It expands, contracts. Nobody robs you for it.
Yeah.
Plumbing helps, yeah. Can't miss what you're not looking for, right? Electrical, again, the breakers, make sure it has breakers. If it's not, figure about $2,000 for that. Septic or sewer. If it's septic and well, just budget $20,000. Because when you're making an offer on a property, you're not going to now go get a septic guy out there to test the septic on a property you're making an offer on, right? Would you agree? Just make the offer taking off $20,000 for well and septic. Just assume it's bad. You can get a septic done for probably about $15,000 if it's an at-grade septic. If it's above ground, it's a lot more. And a well treatment system, at max, you're going to spend $3,000, probably a lot less. But if you budget $20,000 for those 2 items, you won't even have to worry about it. And if it's good, and you just made $20,000 extra.
Question,
Yeah.
if you wanted to make it public,
Mhm.
instead of just putting in a septic, is it the same price? Or a little higher?
Depends on where the line is in the street. So if the line comes onto your property and you have actually a clean out there, it depends how long you gotta run it. Like I got a property in Galloway, they gotta run it 450 feet. It's probably gonna run them like $6,000 to trench a hole 4 feet deep on an incline, connect all the pipes.
This is better
But
than-
normally it'll be a lot cheaper to connect the sewer if there's sewer available. Most places that you're gonna need a septic on, sewer's not available. That's why they still have septic. If city runs sewer by your house, they kind of push you to connect, you know what I mean? I think after a while, if you don't connect, they start charging you anyway. You know what I mean? So, and the connection with, and there's always a connection fee. Each township's different, 1,500 to 2,500. That's just a just because fee. The connection actually is on you to hook it up, the cost. And then there's a fee just to say you have sewer. So sewer, septic or well, just figure 20 grand, take it off the offer. Look for vent pipes on oil tanks. Oh my God, there's a guy, Brad, I have, if you want his name and number, $350, he'll come to the property, check for any oil tanks, and if you find one after he says there's not one, he'll insure the cost of the cleanup. I've had oil tanks cost, the cheapest one was in Pleasantville that was leaking for $7,500. The most expensive one I dealt with was on Ohio Avenue in Atlantic City. The seller walked away after it was $110,000 in cleanup costs. He just literally gave the property back to the city. So if you think there might be an oil tank, check for, have a professional check it out. Because like I said here, $350 can literally save you probably 35 grand. I had another one, $45,000 to clean it up, and they had to jack up the back of the house because they had to go under the house to get the dirt. It's a long, tedious, and expensive process. Then if you look at all the major stuff, start looking at the cosmetics. What sells homes? Kitchens and baths, right? Kitchens and baths. Everything, new items, especially in flips. Why do you think people like flips? Everything's new. And everything looks new. And it's funny, the buyers, when they first come through, they often don't look at the major stuff. They don't look for the electrical, the roof, the heating. They look at how pretty is the kitchen, how pretty is the bathroom, and then the home inspector gets into all the big stuff, right? So the cosmetics are huge. And like I was saying here somewhere, you don't have to go overboard. Like, don't blow your budget. Always stay at whatever you budgeted. If you get into a flip, do not go over your budget. Go over your budget, you're gonna hurt yourself. But I see people sometimes, they go overboard for no reason. You can buy a $150 vanity at Home Depot that looks really nice, and it'll probably sell in a $150,000 house to a $350,000 house. Now, if you're in like Ocean City or something, you're $500 million, you might have to go a little nicer. But the point is, you don't have to go crazy on most of the homes on the mainland Atlantic County. A $150 vanity is okay. Not bottom grade, but like maybe the step up, second grade at Home Depot cabinets are okay. You don't have to go nutso on what you put in it. You can't really see it, but this is like a repair estimator. One of my clients uses. They paid, just to give you an example, they go to this class called Fortune Builders. Anybody heard of it?
Yeah.
Yeah. This guy spent $65,000 over the last 18 months on this program. They have systems, and basically they give them all the forms and how you do it and things like that. Very, very, very expensive. And then he came to me after he spent the $65,000 and asked how to do it. And so I did it. And that guy, I tell you what though, he went from doing, in 2015 he came to my office, he did zero. Never bought anything besides his own house. Last year he bought 22 properties. So he definitely turned it up. And this is Fortune Builders. But again, an Excel spreadsheet is fine. Just figure out everything on the list, roof to the toilet. Put it on a list, and then from there, write in your numbers from the contractors are giving you. Now, if you're going to get a contractor to give you an estimate, they're going to write all this down. But you want a list so you can make sure you check off what it needs. It needs a roof. It doesn't need siding. It needs a kitchen. It doesn't need a bathroom. Follow? Because a lot of people, they walk into a property, they can feel like, no, they'll walk into, say, I'm going to go check out this property. They walk into the property, they come back, but what do you think I should offer? And I'll say, did you look at the heater? And they'll say, no. I'm like, well, how do you know what you're going to put in it if you don't look at everything? You know what I mean? You have to look at everything. When you're there to look at a property, look at it. look at the heater, look at the panel, take pictures, look at the roof, look at everything.
Due diligence.
Exactly, you're buying it for yourself. You'd be amazed how many, even agents will do more work for their clients than they'll even do for themselves. They'll actually do the due diligence, call the city, do this, do that, and then when I ask them, hey, did you look at the roof? And they'll be like, no. I'm like, well, what are you doing? You're buying a house, you don't know if you need a roof or not. What kind of siding was it? I don't know.
Is it possible to get like a copy of that?
This, no, because it's copyrighted and they would literally sue me probably.
Oh,
This I can give you a copy of.
okay.
I'll email it to you guys. If you guys, everybody signing that sign-in sheet?
No.
Whatever it is? Thank you. This is my, I developed this is nothing, not rocket science. It's basically how I calculate putting in an offer. So basically I start with the ARV. How much are I gonna sell this property for? I go to a property, I look at it, like let's see that Mill Road I showed earlier. That property is probably 3 bed, 2 bath, probably 179. I can sell it for 179 on the back end. My profit goal is usually 30,000 to start. That's what I wanna make. I wanna make 30,000. Closing cost and holding cost is 10% of the ARV. So whatever my ARV is, I'm taking off 10%. And when I say closing costs and holding costs, that's my closing costs when I buy it, closing costs and commissions when I sell it, and interest during the term, and utilities, insurance, stuff like that. The cost of money, I usually fill this out last, but it's 16% of what you project to borrow. So I usually come back to that last because I can't figure that out until I figure out the bottom numbers. Rehab cost, how much is it going to cost me to rehab? I'll give you an example, I'll do an example. So do that, if I do that 179 house, so I got 179,000. Profit goal is 30. Holding cost 10%. 16.
18,
Right,
30,
16% of money. Rehab cost, let's say it's 50 grand to rehab it.
50,
I can do the numbers so much quicker in my head. Money to repair plus 10%. Rehab cost, money to repair plus 10% contingency.
Around 80,000.
I always, so if I say 50, if I go down the numbers in my head, when I do, either, what's it say, if your contractor gives you a number or you do numbers, add 10% to it. So if it's 50, add 5 grand. You'll always, 90% of the time you will use the contingency money. Always have a buffer in there. When I do the 10% here, use this 10% rule and it calculates for a 6% commission. And because you're selling it, if you end up selling it yourself, which I don't do, but you can if you want, you can save yourself the 3%. As long as you do 2 sales a year in the office, you can sell your own properties for no commission. So if you want, you could do no commission, or if you're capped, you don't pay it anyway. But my offer, so the offer is ARV, which is the first one. Profit, number 2, ARV minus profit, minus closing cost, minus the cost of money, minus rehab, and that brings you to the offer. So you just follow this. When I send you this, there's going to be numbers here. When we put it in here, it kind of squished it. So I'll email this to you.
On that offer, about 80,000?
Yeah.
That you would have offered on that house?
Yeah, I'll tell you now. So I would start with 179. I want to say 55,000 for work. I know it's just going to be, on this price, it's going to be about 12 or 13 grand in hard money. So I usually use just 12 grand, and then use 10%, say about 15,000 for the closing costs, and then $30,000 profit, 67,000. That's what I would have offered.
The hard monies, where do you track the hard money? Rehab
The hard
cost money?
is right here.
Okay.
The cost of money. I put the cost of money.
Okay.
Because I put 16%. This is if you're going to use a hard money company. You can still use that to make a buffer, but if you're going to do like an equity line of credit or, for 5%, you're going to save a lot of money. But what I've found is even the companies, people are saying, oh, I'm only paying 12%. No matter what it is, if you're going through a hard money company, you're paying 16%. Because whether you're paying 10%, 12%, you're paying points and fees, it ends up being 16%. I haven't found a lender at the end of the day that's charging less overall than 16%. Unless you're doing a shit ton of them, and then they're giving a really, really good rate. So I'll email this to you as long as you fill out that form. So once you have your offer and your rehab calculations, make your offer. I didn't put a lot of information about how I make offers, but I'll talk a little bit about it. Offers are like the same thing like anything else. You know, if you want to get listings or work with sellers, what are you doing? You're focusing on sellers, right? If you want to work with investors, what are you doing? You're focusing on investors. If you want to get properties, you have to focus on a way to get the offers in consistently and routinely, systematically. You have to hit every aspect. So basically, you have to be on the MLS or getting blast emails from yourself of good properties every single day, multiple times a day. You have to be glued to that MLS. You have to be glued to these Hubzu sites, you know, Exhume sites, what else? Auction.com. All these sites, I would set yourself up on some sort of email so you get this stuff. You're not going to be the first in or the best offer if you're a week late with the offer. You have to be on it. You have to be on it. Every day we submit probably 15 to 20 offers. We have a system in place and we just consistently make the offers. If you ever want to ask Katie and Olga are actually very knowledgeable of this stuff. You know, if you've ever had a property that needed work, you've probably got an offer from me. There's not much under 100,000 in Atlantic County that we did not make an offer on. When I say that, I mean that literally. There is probably nothing under 100,000, besides from Atlantic City, that we have not made an offer on. And basically, we're just throwing shit against the wall and see what sticks. So if you ever get an offer from me, don't be offended. Tell your seller not to be offended. We're just seeing if you're willing to work with us. You know, that's it. Because a lot of times, what you think is a good price for somebody to buy and move into it. To buy it and flip it is a completely different number. It's just what it is.
How do your commissions work for when you're buying for yourself? Like,
Buying for yourself,
like,
keep it.
so we would still get the commission. but
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
still ours.
Oh yeah, it's yours. Yeah, I just bought a property for myself to move into, and it's I got $6,000 back. It was awesome. So
When you
yeah,
work with other agents, Sean, do you still take your side of the commission, or do you give that agent the whole commission, buying it in as an investment?
if I sell it through them,
No,
I
you-
give them the whole thing.
You give them the whole thing?
Yeah, I give them.
So if you
Well,
buy it through them, you still take your,
if I buy it through that
as a
agent,
buyer, you still take your buyer's agent commission, right?
if I'm the buyer's agent, yes. Oh yeah, if
Okay.
I'm the buyer's agent, I take the commission. When I relist it, I'll relist it
With that
through.
agent because they sold it to you?
Sometimes, yeah,
Sometimes,
exactly.
okay.
Yeah, it depends on like if they got. Yeah, depends. Let's put it this way: if I'm gonna give them the back end list price, it was probably because I gave them the front end to get the deal. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Not saying it's right, wrong, or indifferent, but if I know if I put my offer directly through one of these bank-owned agents, because it's gonna have 17 offers, I might have a better chance of getting it. Therefore, if I put my offer through them, I'll probably give them the listing on the back end, yeah. But honestly, most times I put the offer in my name through me as the agent, and then have one people, either whoever I'm partnering with on it or somebody on my team listed. Once you have offer, make your offers. Some things to keep in mind when rehabbing a property: you want to stay within budget. Depending on the location and the ARV, do not have to go overboard. Like I was saying, you know, don't. Yeah, I see so many people, like the guy I was telling you, Fortune Builders. The first flip he bought, it was on Linden Avenue in EHT, back off Franklin there, that little dead end street. Beautiful. He paid like $90,000 for it, but it only needed like $7 grand. It was the best flip to buy as a first time flip. He did everything that I told him not to do. I told him to get a survey, he didn't get a survey. He didn't get a survey, and then we realized, thank God, I measured off the property, like I walked it off, and realized that he was supposed to be buying 100 feet, and on the survey, it only showed, we didn't do a survey. Basically, he should have had 100 feet, but the contract of sale was only giving us the lot and block for 50 feet. And the bank owned the other, coincidentally, the bank ended up owning the other lot, and that's where the septic was. The septic was literally on the other lot. So he needed the other lot to sell the whole package. So I'm telling you, as just an advisory, always get a survey. It's 99% of the time you will not need it. It's the 1% of the time you will. I sold a property one time where Galloway and Mays Landing on Route 50 literally went down the center of the house. So Mays Landing was this side of the house, Galloway was this side of the house. We didn't get a survey. It caused such a deed problem at the end, it ended up taking us 2 months extra to close after we got a new survey. But this guy, he didn't do anything I told him to do. The kitchen was beautiful. He wanted the countertops higher, this new thing where the countertops are higher. He ripped all the cabinets out and then ended up not being able to save the cabinets, so he destroyed an entire kitchen just because he thought he wanted to braise them up. He ended up painting the same cabinets before he just destroyed them. My point is, you don't have to go berserko. Figure out what, you know, a nice Home Depot or nice, you know, what's that? You know, Tri-County kitchen, you know, they have kitchen designs. What a decent kitchen like that would sell, what would the house would sell for with that kind of stuff in it. You know, I've heard people spend $15,000 on a kitchen in EHT on a flip. I mean, that's absurd. I don't think I've ever spent more than $7 grand on a kitchen anywhere. I just did one in Summers Point for $220,000. So, you know, you can usually get away with decent stuff. You know, granite, I would go the level 1 granite. You know, don't go crazy. Depending on the location of the ARV, don't go crazy. Blah blah blah. Get a reliable, reasonable contractor that does good work. This is probably the third most important thing. After you buy it for the right number, get a good ARV and the contractor. You can get a contractor with your eyes closed. Finding a contractor that can fit in your budget, that will show up to work, and you know will do decent work is the hard part. I can get a contract. I can get 10 contractors tomorrow to line up and give you estimates on a flip. The problem is that 9 out of 10 of them are going to be way over any number that you can make. You can be competitive on an offer. You know, when I'm getting done for $60,000, they're probably charging $90,000. So you really got to like people like I have 5 guys. This is all they do. This is their job. They buy and sell homes. I tell them their lead generation is lead generating for contractors. That's all they ever have to do. Is lead generating for contractors and money. Always be pitching for money, always be pitching for a contractor. Because if you don't have those 2 pieces, then you can't. No money, you can't buy. No contractor, you can't fix.
Do you have a contractor like a your general contractor?
Yeah.
That's what you're dealing
Me
with?
personally, I don't sub out the work. I have one guy, A to Z. The only thing he doesn't do is landscaping and appliances. I order the appliances. And
Does he sub it out? Does he bring people
he
in?
subs out the heater guy, the electrician, and the plumber.
Yeah. So
I mean, he'll do minor, light fixtures or something, but he subs everybody out. I don't. You could probably save money subbing it out yourself. In fact, I know you could save money subbing it out to just a contractor to do all the general construction stuff. Heater guy, electrician, plumber. You could definitely, even going more in detail, like getting a flooring guy to do the flooring. Roofer to do roofer, siding to do siding. You can save money if you're willing to take the time to sub everything out yourself. You definitely will save money. It's just more time consuming.
And you gotta put that on a time basis too. One thing has to be done before the other thing.
Exactly. What is your time worth? You know what I mean? If you have time in your hands, you'll save money. I don't have time in my hands.
What if you have an investor buying a flip, and they
Yeah.
want you to find them the property? Now they're saying, okay, I live out the area for you, can you get your contractors out there? So now you're doing that work also for them.
You are? I don't
Yeah,
know.
because they want you to
Tell them to make
come.
a partner.
Huh?
Tell them to make you a partner. There's a guy, there's another investor I have, he actually, because he doesn't live here, he doesn't live around here, he actually made his contractor, is kind of like, he named him his project manager / contractor, and he gives him 25% of profit. Because basically he's doing everything. The guy's in Virginia, while he's buying a house here, he hasn't ever seen it, he's not overseeing the project, you know what I mean?
But if it's a rental, you can't,
Yeah, there's not much profit in there.
Yeah.
So he wants you to get a contractor to fix it? I mean,
Give him
it's,
an estimate of like how
Yeah.
much it's gonna cost for, like to get it up
Yeah.
to par to rent.
I mean, I guess you look at it, if he's gonna buy more, Will he buy more properties or not?
He's a client,
Yeah.
past client, so I wanna give him good service.
Yeah, there you go, so you just help him out, you know? I would suggest go get permits if you need to. You know, trying to squeak around permits is just, you might find yourself in trouble later. I just had a call this morning at 8:30 from one of my clients, and it's under contract. The buying agent said the buyer went to the city, asked about this wall that was removed, because the seller happened to be there, and he said, I removed this wall, and he went in the attic, and there's a beam up there, you know, so he put the beam in to take out the wall, and he's asked my seller, hey, did you go to the city, did you get this inspected? He said, yeah, I got a construction inspection, and he did, and so I called him back, because the buyer went to the city, and the city told him, no, they didn't check out that beam, and so I called my seller, I said, hey, did you ever check out that beam? He said, yeah, well, he was in the house, he was in the attic, and I was like, oh, he was? So he checked it out? Oh, yeah, he checked it out. I said, okay, because he went down there and they said he didn't put that on there. And he says, no, they checked it. This morning he called me back, he says, I don't know, I went to the city and they said they didn't see the beam. And I was like, all right, whatever. He said, okay, just go down, now he's gotta get an engineer, drawings, prints, open up the building permit, back up, get it re-inspected, and we have 10 days to close. So all that would have been avoided, and he did it the right way. It's not even like he did it the wrong way, he did it the right way. Just go get the permit at the beginning. Now he's gonna pay extra costs, more time, and maybe not make closing, and then you got a buyer thinking, so is this guy full of shit on everything, or just this part? You know what I mean? So just get a permit. It's really not that costly and that much time. Listing the property for sale, do your comps like any other property. Me, time is money. I don't want to wait long. I want to buy it, fix it, and sell it in 6 months. I've never, knock on wood, in the last 5 years, held anything longer than 6 months. So, you know, I'm not overpricing it. I want to actually put it at a price that somebody thinks is a good deal, so it moves very quickly. Most of my properties and listings sell 30, 60 days. Most of the flips. I always offer a 1-year home warranty. That will save on the buyers calling me back 6 months later, 3 months later. You know, they have somebody else they can call. A lot of times I'll give them my cell phone number in case something we did doesn't work right, it breaks. You know, 'cause I don't want to give them a crappy house. Yet if they have a home warranty, it might help me with something that breaks that maybe had to do with us but not had to do with us. It might be a fine line. It's just another avenue, and it makes them feel all warm and fuzzy inside. Again, I rarely list my own properties. It's too much of a liability, and it's more comfortable for the agents and buyers not dealing directly with the seller. It just is, and even the agents as well. That's it. After you sell this property, go on to the next property, because depending on how you do on your first property, the profit margin, what you made, is really how you're going to figure out if you're going to buy the second property. If you did horribly bad, you might not have the stomach for it. You might want to go back for a second time. If you did really, really good, you might end up having, you do enough flips, you get enough money to do with cash. Not to get a hard money loan or a mortgage.
Who do you list your properties with? Somebody in the office?
It depends on, you know, like this, right now I'm listing one with Olga, and then actually Olga's doing one, I'm listing hers. Like I've done properties with Dan Rollo, Hatter, Howard.
Right,
So
okay.
usually whoever the partner is, I'll let them list it.
Yeah. And if they bought it to you or
Exactly,
whatever.
exactly.
And you use
Those
it-
all properties they brought to me, I did a partnership with them where they'll claim part of the taxes, but they're not on the deed. So I just have them listed. I just listed one with Monica from Coldwell Banker. She brought me something about a year ago. I actually rented it out for a year, and she listed that. So it really depends on usually who's involved, whoever brings it to me or helps me with it.
Did you use an LLC or you?
Yeah, it's funny. I actually used to use an
Sole proprietor.
LLC all the time. Then I stopped using an LLC because my hard money guy didn't require it. Now I just bought another one. I had to use an LLC. All my rentals are in an LLC. All my flips, the first 5 years were in an LLC. The last 10 years or so my flips have not been in LLC up until the last one I just bought a week ago. And that's because I'm sure these are the hard money guys. How you doing? Most hard money companies, they want you to use an LLC to do a loan. So if you're gonna use a hard money company, is that true?
Yes.
All right, good.
Unless there's extenuating circumstances where you can't, then we'll let you do it in person.
Cool, awesome, man. That's why I figured. I have so many LLCs.
What's the reason for that?
What's the reason for it?
Yeah, for them wanting an LLC versus
Yeah, because technically it's a commercial loan and it just has to do with, you know, you don't want to be predatory lending, so.
Yeah.
We don't want to
Okay.
lend to somebody in a personal name, because then it could be construed as, you know, primary residence. this
Hey,
and
if you
that.
wanna come up, I'll introduce you guys. You guys speaking today?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, yeah, come on up, whatever you want, man. Take your jacket off.
Yeah.
Stay comfortable. Yeah.
Sean, Sean,
That's what I figured, because I think it's easier to foreclose, right, basically?
Right, right.
They don't want to foreclose on Joe homeowner, but, you know, ABC LLC, they'll be more comfortable foreclosing on.
Right.
Sean,
So I
what,
haven't met these guys yet, so I'm just gonna.
Yeah,
Hey,
Anthony,
Sean and Brian, nice to meet you.
Anthony Palmietto.
Sean, nice to meet you, man, pleasure.
Yeah, First Equity Funding, so.
Cool, man. Do you need something up here? Do you want anything up here?
You know, we have a PowerPoint, we'll put it up, I guess.
Do you? Okay, cool. Yeah, go for it.
Sean, what do you do with
And then you can get in yours. And I'll answer your question, Tony. What's that?
what do you do when you have an investor that just doesn't kind of go with your guidelines with like your advice?
There you go. You can just type whatever you want in there and open the tab.
I had an investor that purchased a property, and everything he wanted to do was too high-end, he overdid it.
Yeah.
And he wound up, I think, losing money or breaking even on the deal.
I mean, well, I'll say this. Most of my investors, I will tell them, stay under 200,000.